And usually I would be on the Camino 3 or 4 times a year. And it just grips you. The experience is so liberating, so wonderful, so exhilarating, so refreshing to the spirit. We want more and more of it. It's like drinking at the well, and we want to drink more and more goodness. And the Camino is goodness as far as I'm concerned.
I share the same feelings you do. Definitely, it is. It is. Um, Now let's go into to the main point of our talk. Can you share or can you tell us your, I don't know, let's call it your most special moments while walking the Camino, or
Ah, do you know, when we're walking the Camino, we think about lots and lots of things. We think about the past. We think about the things we've done wrong and that people have done to us, the hurts of life. And we think about the good things and so forth. So there are good days and there are difficult days.
definitely.
And I remember walking the Meseta, coming up from Seville on the Via de la Plata, and I waved. There was just me on my own for miles and miles and miles and miles, and I used to wave to the shepherds, and they would always wave back. And this day I thought, this is the kind of day where even the shepherds don't wave. And so you have days which are very difficult, but then also days which are full of joy, full of surprises. It was very cold one November. I was walking in winter, the start of winter in November, and I was starving. I was cold and really hungry. And I went into a bar, and there was no one else in the bar apart from the woman who was sitting watching a series on the television. And of course, she completely ignored me because she was watching the television. And eventually I said, "Excuse me, could I have some service?" And she kind of harumphed. And she said, "What do you want?" And I said, "Well, I'm starving. Do you have anything to eat?" And she said, "We've not got any food. We don't do food." And I said, "Well, could you give me a coffee?" So she served me a coffee, and I sat at the table drinking my coffee, and I'm feeling very, very, very sorry for myself. Anyway, the television program finished, and the woman, she'd obviously been thinking about this. She came over to my table and said, "Listen, we don't do meals here, but I've made fish soup for my family for lunch. Would you like some?" And I thought, like some? I would eat the table, let alone the fish soup. I was so hungry. And she brought me a terrine. She brought me a big bowl of piping hot fish soup, my favourite, and a loaf of bread. And it was wonderful. It was the best food I've ever tasted.
Oh, that's amazing. You are. I'm getting a little bit emotional. uh, Along the Camino, I already have done it 5 times, but you lots of more. But they are that special stage around each Camino. But if you if you had to do have to choose to do just the same stage ever, um, what stage did you choose?
Ah, well, there are so many, aren't
Yeah,
there?
yeah, that,
But I think walking over Othebreiro into Santiago is a completely magical experience. It's hard work because you're going up and up and up and up. But I've walked it in the snow and in the fog where I couldn't see anything. I walked it in September of this year where I could see everything. It was magnificent. And of course, there is that great feeling of achievement when you enter into Galicia for the first time and you know you're in the land of Santiago. And Santiago is just a few days away.
yeah.
So I think that stage is very, very, very special indeed. And then down in the south of Spain, in Andalusia, where they breed the black pigs, from which Jamon Serrano comes from, and there was only me and all these pigs, and I was talking to the pigs. I'd been walking for hours on my own, and I was telling the pigs what the Camino was like, and asking them how many pilgrims they'd seen that day. And I thought, John, you're crazy. You've now started talking to the animals. Now, they didn't reply, I have to say. But it was just very lovely being on my own, just me and the pigs, in this forest of oak trees.
Amazing, amazing. I have one last question for you. It's a difficult one, but I will do it anyway. What can you say to a person who never walked the Camino de Santiago?
Like my daughters.
Yeah, like your daughters.
I have two daughters who think their father's crazy. They think that I'm getting getting a taxi from one hotel to the other. They don't understand that I walk between beds. And all I would say to them is, you need to take a decision to give yourself to the Camino, to start walking, to take the first step, to fly to Spain. And that's the adventure. Now, you and I both know, and everybody who's walked the Camino knows, that as soon as you get started, everything becomes okay. All of your fears disappear. You realize that you follow the yellow arrows, that you will get from one place to the next, that you will not get lost, that there will be other people there, that people will be friendly, that you will understand them, even although they don't speak English. And you will find ways of communicating, that you will see wonderful scenery, you will meet wonderful people, you'll eat wonderful food, and of course there's the wine.
Oh, the wine.
So what I say to people is just what I've just said. These are the magical ingredients of a wonderful experience, but you won't get them until you put on your walking shoes, find the first arrow, and start walking. So that's what you've got to do.